We have just looked at how Excel handles arithmetic operations, and now next we begin at understanding the way that you identify locations on an Excel spreadsheet. We will understand this with help of an example. You will notice that we have row numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have letters for column, that is A, B, C, D. So the way that you would identify a particular location would be to say, for example, if you look at the square that is currently highlighted in blue, this is cell B7. This would be cell B6. This would be cell C6, and so on. What we would like to do now is work a very simple problem where we can have a fixed annual interest rate and our wealth compounds over 10 years. And we would like to know how much wealth we have at the end of 10 years given a particular interest rate. So let's assume that our interest rate is 7% per year. One good way to solve this problem would be, I will enter the cell where my initial rupees 1000 cash balance appears, which would be cell B6. Now at the end of the first year, keeping in mind the interest rate of 7%, I will just click here and input equal to sign to activate the formula bar and enter B6. I will select the B6 cell into 1.07 and press enter. So this is the amount that I would have accumulated at the end of first year with an interest rate of 7%. Now what I have done is I have created what is called a relative reference. What that means is that if I select the cell that I have just entered a formula into and I drag it down, just look what happens. Excel automatically changes my cell references, and now I am referring to cell B7. In other words, here I am referring to the cell directly above, and so on. So I just need to drag a little square which is called a handle, and I grab onto it and drag it down, and I will have my answer as 1967.15 at the end of 10 years. And since these are supposed to be in rupees, I will click within the body of the cell, drag and select all the options, right click, select format cells. Here select the currency options, and you can see the symbols. So I can choose any of the symbols, but I am happy selecting the rupee symbol, and I just click an OK, and you can see the rupee symbols appears in all of the cells. So now I have the currency value in the cells. That is a perfectly good and correct way to do the problem. But is that the only way to do the problem? Let's see how else we can do it. What we have just done was give a relative reference to one of the cells and just drag it down, and it gives us the desired result. Now you can just see we have a very handy shortcut that Excel has, that I can enter my formula here. I will again enter it is equal to cell C6 into my interest rate, that is 1.07, and enter. So the same value is appearing once again here. So if I just double click this handle what happens that it will fill all the square down to the last square where there's something on to the left. So with one double click I can fill in this entire data. And if you look at each of these values, they are all relative references, C6, C7, C8 down to C15. Now what I have selected here also appears on this formula bar, and I can edit the formula directly by clicking in the formula bar also, which is pretty cool and very easy. But is there a more generalizable way to do the problem that I think is more the way that you should try to do problems in general when you can, which is to you what I would refer to as an absolute reference. You will notice that if I wanna change the interest rate, if the interest rate changes from 7% to say 8%, I have got to type something new in at least one square and got to repopulate all of those squares to reflect the updated value as per the revised interest rates. Now I'm going to use my relative reference, which is B6. For here I will be using referring to this cell B6, so is equal to, I will activate the formula bar, is equal to B6 times 1 plus into, I will give the parenthesis, 1 plus, I will just select this interest rate of 7%, and I want all of these cells below to refer only this particular cell value of 7% and not to go forward with the relative referencing as we had seen. So I will just use a dollar sign before each part of the reference cell. So before C I will put a dollar sign, and after C as well I will put a dollar sign. I will end the parenthesis bracket and I press enter. So you can see what value we had got for relative reference, we are getting the same value after using the absolute referencing also. Now when I double click the handle, all the values which are same as that of relative reference start to appear in all of the cells. Now if you select any of the cells here, you can see the reference cell, that is interest rate cell of C3, remains same in all of the cells. Only the reference values changes. And this part of the formula which we have highlighted or we have entered with the dollar, that part of the formula remains constant. And so this works very beautifully, and what's cool about this is that I can just change the interest rate here. If I input the interest rate as 10%, you can see the values here will be immediately reflected. So that's the beauty of absolute referencing. Now let's plot these values on one of our scatter plots graph. Now for this I will go to insert, I will go to recommended charts, and from all the charts I want the scatter plot, so I will just select this first option and click OK. So the graph is now plotted, but I want to change the data which the graph has been referring to. So I will just right click on the graph, I will choose select data, and my cell range will be year and accordingly the cash balance. So this is my data that I want to plot on my chart, and I have selected the complete cell references here. I will just click on OK. Now you can see year wise amount is being plotted on the graph. Now similarly we will use this scatter plot for absolute referencing, and let's see what happens. So I will once again right click the graph. Once again I select the data. I will just, now I want to select the year, so I will just press Ctrl key on the keyboard. I will select all the values in my first column. I will again, now I have now released my Ctrl key on the keyboard, and I want to select the cells with the absolute references. So I will once again press the Ctrl key on the keyboard and select all the absolute references. Now all the data that I want to plot on my scatter chart has been selected. I will just click on OK, and you can see the graph has been plotted. So now see the magic of absolute referencing. Once I change the value of the interest rate to 12%, I have entered now 12% as the revised interest rate, and as I hit enter, the values under absolute references will change, and the same will be directly reflected onto your scatter plot as well. So I will just press enter on the keyboard, and look, all the revised values appear on the scatter chart. So this is the end of our first session, and in the first session we have covered some basics related to arithmetic operations in Excel, cell references, and how to plot a chart using the data.